Happy Kwanzaa, my fellow nerds. Welcome back to Nerdvine for another episode where I try not to embarrass myself because I am walking that fine line of wanting to celebrate everyone and everything, but also I don't have firsthand experience with this holiday. So with that disclaimer, let's talk about some things I learned about Kwanzaa and also talk about African wines. So obviously I had this episode planned and then I went to do my research on Kwanzaa and discovered, it's not actually an African holiday. Well, heck. So, according to Britannica.com, both the name and celebration were devised in 1966 by a professor of African Studies at CSU in Long Beach. In fact, the word Kwanzaa with a single A is Swahili, but the word Kwanzaa with two A's isn't a Swahili word. Side note, Swahili is a cool language. It's now written using the Latin alphabet, but it used to be written using a Ajami script, which is derived from Arabic script. Okay, anyway, back to wine. Focus, London, focus. Yeah, so then I'm asking myself, is it okay if I associate the holiday with African wines, even though it originated in California? I've already started digging this hole, so on I go with my metaphoric shovel. Okay, Kwanzaa is celebrated over the course of 7 days to represent 7 different principles: unity, self-determination, collective responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. I obviously have a lot of really positive thoughts about all of that, but we're here to talk about wine. So Africa is geographically really cool because the equator chops it in half. So this top northern bit falls within the 30 to 50 degrees north, and then this little bit in the south falls within the 30 to 50 degrees south. So most of the continent is not within wine growing latitudes, and yet they are making incredible wines where they can be grown. Amazing. So in my CMS course, bear in mind it was just the intro, certified is on the list after WSET 3, we only talked about South Africa, which is still a lot. So in this area are the Western Cape growing regions. The two main districts you may have heard about would be Stellenbosch and Walker Bay, but there's also Paarl and Swartland that aren't quite as popular. So France has AOCs and chateaus, etc. South Africa has, from biggest to smallest, regions, districts, wards, and estates. South Africa is also the only African area addressed in this book, the Wine Bible. In fact, the only mention I can find of North Africa is in Oz Clarke's New Wine Atlas, where honestly he basically just rips on North African wines. The whole book is pretty snarky, but he has lines like, "It's the wasted potential that makes me want to cry." I found this a little brutal. Anyway, because I am not currently well versed in anything North Africa, we're just going to stick to South Africa in this video. So the reds here are going to be primarily Cab Sauv, Syrah, Merlot, and Pinot Noir. But one of the reds for which Africa has made a name is Pinotage. In fact, Pinotage is basically South Africa's signature wine. Maybe I should say signature grape, because Cape blends are also incredibly popular. Pinotage is a cross between Pinot Noir and Cinsault, but unlike the lightness you might expect from anything related to Pinot Noir, Pinotage is a big wine, full-bodied, medium-high tannin, medium-high acid, and frequently pushing that 15% alcohol level. So this wine is super ageable and can get pretty complex with fruity notes like blackberry, plum, and cherry, but also lots of interesting notes like smoke, anise, tobacco. Sometimes you will hear tar. Don't let that scare you away. Just, as I always say, try a bunch until you find the ones you like. No stranger to white wines also, South Africa offers up a lot of Chardonnay and Sauv Blanc, of course, but is better known for its Chenin Blanc, which is locally called Steen. Africa is in fact the largest producer of Chenin Blanc, with something like 4 times the production of France. I don't think we've talked a ton about Chenin, but it's a very versatile grape and expresses well, ranging from dry to off-dry to sweet, and Africa offers all of these. From what I understand, though things are of course changing all the time, the top producers of Africa work with smaller vineyards to produce some phenomenal dry Chenins, but demand for it is also driving higher yield productions of Chenin from South Africa. So there we are, a very quick overview of South Africa. I did not touch on the climate really, which is very interesting, or the KWV, I'm going to dangle that in front of you, or the history of the Dutch East India Company, but I wanted to focus on just the holiday and the wines, so we'll have to make another trip to Africa in the future, which works out because I'm headed out to a party where there will be drinking, and since I love wine but don't want to overdo it, I don't have anything to taste with you tonight. Cheers to the 7 principles of Kwanzaa and to the beautiful wines coming out of this beautiful place. Like and subscribe to make sure you get notified about other off-schedule episodes like this one, and I'll see you on the next regularly scheduled episode to celebrate the new year. Cheers.